This week on the Socratic Cinema podcast.
Kasey, what's the Totoro of Totoro?
That was good.
Leave.
That was
What?
good.
What are you talking about?
Oh, Miyazaki, we love you, man. But if you need to rest, you take your rest.
We Socratic Cinema have convinced Hayao Miyazaki to.
We'll take it from here. Oh, hey, they're at the door.
James, they're back again.
Oh, no.
You got them back. Welcome back to the Socratic Cinema podcast. My name is Charlie Heatherly.
My name is James Delicio.
And I'm Kasey Clark.
And this episode has been a long time coming. It has been a while since we've dove into some Studio Ghibli, however the hell you want to pronounce it. And this week we are doing My Neighbor Totoro.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Feels like we're sort of collecting the Infinity Stones with Ghibli movies. I was thinking about it earlier this morning. Like we did Spirited Away way back in the day. It was our 4th episode, I think, was Spirited Away. And now a year and a half later, here we are doing My Neighbor Totoro. And I think the other Infinity Stones would be like Howl's Moving Castle, Kiki's Delivery Service, and Princess Mononoke. So maybe like in the next 5 years, we'll pick up the other stones. It's like the Socratic Cinematic Universe.
Yeah, there's one every year. Eventually, we'll be able to get them all. But I had a splendiferous time watching My Neighbor Totoro. And I use that word very deliberately because this movie is full of wonder and imagination and just such great childhood vibes. And I think as all of our podcasts go, we should go over our own personal takes on the film. And I think to be a gentleman, ladies first, we're going to let Kasey go ahead and share her review of the movie.
Thank you. I really liked this movie. Like, I love Spirited Away, and I love this movie. It was my first time seeing it, too. So, as we are collecting Infinity Stones, I'm excited to experience some of these movies for the first time. But it was really, really not like, of course, Studio Ghibli, obviously the movie is going to be breathtakingly beautiful with an amazing score. I was living the entire time. And even though it kind of took a while, I think about 35 minutes for Totoro to actually show up.
Yeah.
It didn't feel as long as it was. I felt like it was it was really easy to kind of get involved in the moving in process and everyone getting settled, that you didn't really like miss the like time difference of when Totoro's supposed to show up, and then we get into all the like whimsy and all that stuff. But overall I really, really liked it. I'd give it a 8.5 out of 10.
Dang, 8.5, not
Whoa.
bad. Who's next,
Oh.
Charlie? You're the ringmaster tonight.
I'm the ring. Well, I mean, I would like to save myself for last so that I have more time to think about my opinion because I've given this 0 thought so far. So, James,
That's
please.
fair. All right, I'll take us. I think I'm the only one here who's actually seen Totoro before. Kasey, have you seen any? I mean, obviously you've seen Spirited Away because we talked about it. But I know you mentioned like being excited to experience a lot of them for the first time. What Ghibli movies have you seen?
None of them.
None of them? What?
None of them, no.
Except for Spirited Away.
Except for Spirited Away, which is why I was so excited to watch Spirited Away.
Wait, not even
Wow.
Ponyo?
I've seen Ponyo.
No, not even Ponyo.
Okay,
I know. I feel so bad.
No, you're good. I haven't seen that many either. I've only seen. I saw Howl's Moving Castle for the first time last night. So I've been on like a Ghibli kick this weekend. I'm gonna say Ghibli because I grew
yes.
up saying Ghibli.
Okay, sure. We'll say Ghibli. I just want to make it uniform because I do not want a war in the comments breaking out.
If you I almost addressed the comments as chat, which means I've been watching too much Twitch. Let us know in the comments if it's pronounced Ghibli or Ghibli. And if you're listening on something that doesn't support comments, just leave us a nice review and go about your day.
Or just yell into your phone. We will hear it.
Or even, this is even better. Go out, once you're done listening to the podcast, go over to our YouTube channel, subscribe if you haven't already, and then go to the YouTube version of the episode, give it a thumbs up, and then write in the comments so you can like just get it all in one pass, But that's, I think, probably probably the best way to do it. I'm trying to work
Mhm.
our shilling kind of throughout the episode, so
You're a
it's not.
great salesman. I just wanna make that very
Yes,
clear.
Yeah, we should
I
get
would buy the
a.
vacuum.
Your
Would you
sliminess
buy?
is palpable, really is.
Yeah. That's the goal. I appreciate that. Would you buy Socratic merch, Charlie?
I would love to buy Socratic merch. Would you
Would you?
wear Socratic merch, James?
Um, yeah, like
Wow. No, wait, really?
yeah, I think our logo is pretty cool. In my
Oh, our
humble
new
opinion.
one. Our new
Yeah,
one's
our
nice.
new one's dope, man. We really got a facelift.
Yes,
Casey, would you buy
we love
Socratic merch?
rebranding. Yes, I would buy Socratic merch, especially if it was, I don't know, maybe stickers or a t-shirt or two.
Ooh,
Something just,
what about a
Wow.
universal.
Socratic hoodie for this winter weather?
Ooh, yes, with the rain and the chilly winter holiday season.
The direction I've been going with this makes it seem like we're announcing a merch line. We're
Yeah, I
not.
don't know I don't know why you went with I mean,
We're
personally, I would like Socratic long johns, and just start our undergarment
Please.
some
collection.
Socratic pantyhose, some
Yeah,
Socratic stockings.
Socratic stockings. Oh my gosh, you're a
Dude,
genius.
like Christmas ones, because we're getting
Oh,
close to
Oh,
Christmas.
yes.
Socratic, like, Christmas sweaters? Oh my gosh.
they say
Uh,
Christmas is the most wonderful time of the year. It truly is for capitalists, and we are gonna profit, baby.
yes, sir, get the Christmas revenue,
All the
but
merch.
Period.
if you want Socratic merch, tell us, and maybe we'll do it, and maybe next time we'll get to do an actual merch pitch for real, unless by the time this episode comes out, we decided we're gonna sell merch, in which case, go buy it. Uh, But yeah, where was I? Oh yeah, do I like Totoro?
Yeah.
Yeah, I like Totoro a lot. I've seen this movie all sorts of upside down, backwards and forwards since I was little. I'm a big fan, and I hadn't watched it in a really long time actually. But I love the score. Joe Hisaishi is a madman. He's brilliant composer. Love his stuff. Learn a lot of it on piano because it's just so pretty. Um, and yes, but rewatching this for the first time since I was like really young was kind of a trip because I forgot how like little there is going on in this movie. Like Casey said, it takes 35 minutes for Totoro to show up, it's not really like directed by a strong plot or anything at all towards like the last 20 minutes. And none of that's a bad thing. I mean, none of that is criticism. Like I fully think everything this movie does is to its strength. And I think it's one of those films that you watch for the atmosphere and the experience more than you do for the plot per se. But as far as
Yes.
yeah, as far as an out of 10 rating, I think I'm gonna go with like a 8.5 feels like the most reasonable, but part of my heart wants to say 9. Uh, yeah, I'll go with Casey, 8.5.
Okay, okay. Fair enough. I personally, my only other thing that I like more than this movie is the fact that when Guillermo del Toro was working with some sort of young Japanese actor, she couldn't pronounce his name, so he gave her special permission to call him Totoro-san.
Yeah, that
Uh,
was Pacific Rim. That was the girl from Pacific Rim.
Oh, yes, yes, yes. That is my only favorite, or that's the fact that I love a lot more than this movie. Although I really do love, love, love this movie. It's so obvious that this is a story that somebody like experienced in their own life, and this is drawn from elements of how they grew up. Like, there's no way that you could tell or basically create the world that they're in, all of the great art and settings and backgrounds that they drew without having firsthand experience of living in that location, of doing all those things, of having your mother in the hospital. And just the way that they managed to blend together sort of the natural world and this idea of like they're sort of dreaming all of this stuff that they're doing with Totoro into this one fluid thing that just feels very it just feels like you're the one imagining it all. It's bringing me back to childhood when I watch it, and it truly is just a wonderful film that even when I finished it, I went outside and I was like, I think I could see Totoro up in the trees. I hope he takes me on his flying top, and we could go run around somewhere or whatever the heck Totoro does in his spare time. But it just felt like such a nice film to sort of decompress to during quarantine, which has been stressful for everyone. And honestly, I would give this film an easy 9 out of 10. Easy 9 out of 10.
Ooh.
This is better than Spirited Away. I think this might be
Oh,
Miyazaki's best, if we're being honest. from
Really?
the
Yeah.
3 Miyazaki movies I've seen.
What's the oh, there's the third Ponyo?
Yeah, third Spania.
Yeah, a lot of people, I mean, the 2 like, the big 3 of Miyazaki are Totoro, Spirited Away, and Howl's Moving Castle. Um, I think Spirited Away is, like, the most critically acclaimed, Ghibli movie because it, like, didn't I think it won, Best Animated Picture in the year it came out, but
Yes.
I think Totoro, like, culturally has had the biggest impact. Like, even if you haven't seen the movie, you've seen that picture of him standing at the bus stop, you know?
Yes.
That picture.
Mhm.
Like, that's something I wanted to kinda point out is that every single frame of this movie is like a wallpaper. Like, you could easily take a screen grab of any single frame in the movie, and it's just gorgeous, and I think I really appreciate the hand-painted backgrounds. That's, like, the first thing that stuck out to me is, like, it's just the backgrounds were beautiful in those opening shots of the car all loaded up moving to the new house. It was just gorgeous, and you're instantly kinda immersed in what the feelings of the movie are gonna be, you know?
Oh, 100%. I mean, all of Miyazaki's movies do such a great job at conveying tone. And that's why I think that this movie is better than the other works that I've seen from him is because it's so pure in the way that it's trying to capture that tone. There's not a lot of frills. We are not in Spirited Away's, fancy like crazy bathhouse castle with all these weird crazy flying monsters. We're not in Ponyo's aquatic Neptune world. We are in somebody's backyard in a forest where they are planting seeds in the ground because they want to make some trees. This is as pure as it can get, and I think that from such a minimal setting, they managed to extrapolate so much emotion and fun and adventure that, like, it really it has to sit among some of the best animated movies that I've seen, personally.
I agree by a long shot. It's definitely in the upper, like, stratosphere of animated movies. I think all Ghibli movies are, like, a cut above the rest, if we're being honest.
It's very true.
And it's just so wholesome. Like, I know James talked about it. There really isn't a lot going on plot-wise in the movie other than we see these people coming to a new house, moving in, mom's in the hospital, we're worried about mom, and then like a girl gets lost in the last 20 minutes of the movie. But the rest of it's just like fun, exploring. It's just really, really sweet. And I really like I mean, me personally, I needed the pick me up.
Yeah, no, totally. It's a contentious time.
Yes. But yeah, it's just a really good movie. Like definitely like a roll up in a blanket with a hot drink. Like let's watch Totoro, everyone.
I know, for as much as like Ghibli movies are usually about summer and warm like things, I feel like they're perfect rainy day movies. For
Yeah.
exactly the way because
100%.
they're cozy. They're so cozy. I wrote down in my notes that it feels like summertime when you're like 6. That's exactly because that's what it is, and I think the fact that they're able to impart that feeling so clearly is a super, like, huge testament to the movie's ability to establish a tone, like Charlie was saying. I think that's a great, observation to make with Totoro, is that it's all about the tone. It's not about the plot, and that's sort of slowly been becoming my philosophy with film more and more. I think I'm Thinking of Ending Things was a big catalyst where, like, if the tone and the feeling and the message is imparted onto me by the end of the movie, I don't really care how strong the plot was. Like, the plot should serve the message of the movie, not the other way around, I think. Um,
No, I get that. I mean, definitely, I would say, well, I have been on that train for a while now. I've been
ah,
on the tone train. I'm the conductor. Since the start of Socratic Cinema, I've been trying to push tone, so I'm so glad that you're seeing the light, James. I've converted you. It feels
ah,
good.
yeah, yeah, I'm
I
happy
will
to be
take
you.
all the credit for your own analysis from now on. But really, I mean, I think we're dancing around this topic a little bit. We keep saying that Totoro does such a great job at conveying tone, but what is it doing to convey that? Like, is it the hand painted backgrounds? Is that why we feel warm and cozy and like everything's so delicately created? Is it the little bit of the story that is there with the mom and, that whole just really wholesome sort of familial love type thing? What is causing us to be like, we got a really strong emotion from this?
This is just my opinion, and then I wanna hear Casey's opinion. But I think it comes down to a combination of wholesome characters, a pleasant aesthetic, and minimal plot. I think it's a combination of those three things. I think the wholesome character interactions, there's never really like any big negative or dramatic things aside from May getting lost, which is just kind of like the climax of the movie, just because like you need something to sort of be a climax. But there's never like feelings of resentment or anger really. The closest you get is kind of like frustration and grief, which is a different kind of emotion. Like it's not a resentful, angry, negative one, you know? It's sad, but it's different. Um it's more melancholy. But I think this movie does a really good job at just like staying on the bright side of things. Like most interactions are just entirely wholesome. Every single scene with the dad in it makes me feel so safe and comforted.
Yes.
That
Yeah.
dad is so incredible. I love him. And just the same with the relationship between Satsuki and Mei, and the sort of budding like partnership between Satsuki and what's the boy's name? Kanta.
Kanta.
Uh, he always confused me when I was little. I never got his shtick, but then watching it again, I was like, oh, he's just shy. Like that's his shtick. Um, that's the shtick. But I think it's a combination of that mixed with the whole aesthetic of the movie, kind of the pastel summer tones, and the scoring is very much I mean it uses a lot of traditional kind of instrumentation, but it also uses a lot of like impressionist kind of musical devices. It's very much like a Debussy. Like the feeling you get listening to Claire de Lune is kind of akin to the feeling you get listening to a like Joe Hisaishi's work in Spirited Away or Totoro. Um, and I think that does a very good job of making kind of a warm, welcoming tone. Lots of quartal harmony, built-in fourths. Not not the traditional Western tertiary harmony structure that we see so often in film score. Really a subversion of the oh hey they're at the door.
James, they're back again.
Oh no,
You got them back.
tell them I'm not home.
Go
Too
off,
busy. I'm too busy
James.
thinking about that quartal harmony. Tertiary harmony is so 18th century.
I am so glad we have you on the show because I have zero clue what you're talking
Yes.
about. But I'm sure if somebody knows something about music, they're like, "Oh, bro, those quartal harmonies, hell yeah, dude!" Those are so
I
much
Hell
fun.
really
yeah,
like
dude.
my secret dream is that Sideways on YouTube watches our show. That's like I just want him to hear me like drop a music take so badly.
Mhm.
Because I love him. He's my like YouTube crush.
Yes. Speak
We
it
can make
into
that happen.
existence.
Honestly,
Yeah,
hey, let's collab Sideways, you and me, man. If you're interested.
you're not gonna bring us along.
Nah.
We get
It's
left
just
behind.
the James Delicio show comes back.
Yup. Oh my gosh. Do you remember that? That was
That
James
fun.
was
Delicio show.
That was
fun.
back when we recorded. We haven't recorded an episode in person since I think Moonrise Kingdom, which
Oh
was
Really?
wow.
which was like in February or something or March.
That is crazy.
Yeah.
It would have to be in
Yeah.
March. Yeah. Wow.
Wow.
Gee, Craigbot's been carrying hardcore though.
Yeah. Thanks,
True.
Craig.
Shout out
No
Craig.
complaints there. But yeah, I think those two things kind of put together, and the whole lack of plot is just so that like you don't get too focused on the plot instead of the tone, you know? I think by leaving it kind of meandery and open, that contributes to the whole feeling of the movie as a whole. But that's my take.
What a phenomenal take. I forgot what you said for half of it because I was too busy focusing on your quartal tones or whatever the
Quartal, that's Quartal, as in fourth.
quartal.
Quartal, like four.
Yeah, like Squirtle without the S.
Yeah, Wartortle, Blastoise.
Yeah. As long as you feed me music as a Pokemon reference, I'm gonna understand it, James.
Dude, now Pokemon soundtracks, that is a
Oh
whole nother
God.
beast to talk about. But Casey,
Oh
what do you think
man.
about how does this movie impart its tone? And what is the tone even of this movie? We keep saying it has a tone, but like what's
What is
what's
the
the
tone?
tone Toro of Totoro? The tone
That was
tone
good.
Leave.
That
tone
was
What?
Toro.
What are
good.
you talking about?
Guess who just won himself an audio bite. That's right.
You're the one that places the audio bites.
Yes.
You can give fine, whatever. I won't get into it with you, James. It's a Sunday
I
night. It's the Lord's Day. I can't.
the Sabbath.
Yes, make holy the day the Lord has made. All right, go ahead.
Okay.
Yeah.
Back to
Okay.
Totoro.
I'm back to Totoro. So I think, in agreement with James, like the thing that drives the tone for me personally is the relationships that they establish. Like we get the relationship between the dad and his two daughters, and I was definitely kind of convinced that it was just going to be like a single dad parenting type thing, but it wasn't. There's a mom, so that's good. I was also very convinced when the mom got sick that she was just going to get killed off, but
Oh
this
my
isn't a
god.
Disney movie. we
Yeah.
we have happy endings here.
I mean, it could retroactively be considered a Disney movie because Disney bought
Oh,
Studio Ghibli when
Don't taint it. Stop
Spirited Away.
tainting it.
I think Spirited Away was the first movie made under Disney's
under
ownership.
Disney.
And you want to
Oh
know what's interesting?
wow.
Is since Disney bought Ghibli, well, actually, I'd need to watch more Ghibli movies before I make a take on that. Never mind.
Oh, were you about to say that they've gotten worse?
No, I don't think they've gotten worse. I don't think they can be bad. Actually, I'm not educated enough. There's some movies. I feel like there's a lot more Ghibli movies than people realize.
What's the most
Like,
recent
That's
one?
very true.
um, Mary and the Witch's Flower.
Oh, didn't people like that?
I don't know if that's actually Ghibli or not. It was Secret World of Arietti.
You're
Oh,
saying
that's the
magic
like
words.
Scottish-ish one? I
Maybe
don't know.
Mary.
I don't know.
No, Mary and the Witch's Flower isn't Ghibli. It's Studio Ponok. What
Oh.
was the
Well,
last
I think we know who has the
Ghibli?
better name.
When was the most recent Ghibli movie?
Find it, Jamie.
Their first movie was Castle in the Sky. And their most recent movie was in 2016 called The Red Turtle.
The Red Turtle?
There's supposed to be one coming out next month, actually, called Earwig and the Witch.
Oh.
Oh.
Oh no, it's 3D animated.
Oh my gosh. Wait,
Oh.
have they actually gone 3D animated with this?
Ghibli's going 3D, dude.
Oh wow. Oh
Oh no. Wait, I
Oh,
mean, yeah.
man.
Okay. Controversial take. I think that 3D animation is going to save animation as a medium. 100%.
I always like 2D better, but I think there's been some pretty baller 3D movies.
Look, 2D animation, the problem with it is you cannot design 2D hand-drawn movies iteratively. It is it is waterfall methodology straight and straight. Like you have to come up with a blueprint for the movie, you have to do all the shots the exact way that you've planned them, and if it doesn't work, that is so much manpower to redo that you just sort of stick with it, right? What 3D
Sure.
animation allows you to do is it allows you to see the negative aspects of your film and change them literally on the fly. Like if you don't like the way a character looks, just change the model. It is changed in every scene from now on, right?
That's
If you
true.
like 3D animation is going to allow creators to make much more polished movies because they can have that time to reiterate and just really just chip down their ideas in a way that hand-drawn animation can't. And although hand-drawn animation is beautiful and amazing, and of course it has a place, like 3D animation is going to allow a lot more creators to tell their stories than before, which I'm incredibly happy about. So if Ghibli's moving to that, or Ghibli or whatever the heck, I'm fine with that. I think that they can totally go for it. I just hope that they find their style and their tone within that 3D animated art space.
Yeah, because a huge part of Ghibli is the tone and the aesthetic. But we were talking about Satsuki and Mei and their dad. Let's get back into that
Yes.
relationship. That was so pure.
It was so nice. Like, which I also want to note that between the two Ghibli films that I've seen, there's always some sort of like surface level parental, it's not necessarily neglect because neglect's like a negative term, but there's always some sort of absentee is kind of negative too, but there's also some sort of like parental absence.
Yeah, the kids kind of have to take care of themselves.
Yeah, because we saw it in Spirited Away where the girl literally had no like had to save her parents, and then now here we have a sick mom and then a dad who's just working and going into town and he's not always there to the point where some Satsuki has to watch May at school or May's at Nanny's house, and it's just
Yeah.
very interesting that that's kind of like a ongoing theme that I've seen.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I think that's interesting. This movie's definitely like an ode to the older sister. Like it's totally a love letter to kind of sibling relationships. Hey, a little women thrown in here, but yeah, I
Yes.
think sibling relationships and really just like kind of the caring relationship between Satsuki and Mei was like one of the biggest. I don't know if you could call it a theme, but like just kind of the importance of that sibling relationship, I think was one of the biggest overarching things I could kind of pick out from this movie. I think the other theme is sort of like a respect and reverence for nature. I think there's a lot of interesting like
Yes, definitely.
100%.
yeah, and that's a huge thing with a lot of Ghibli movies. I think we touched on that in Spirited Away, but it's even more prominent here. I mean, they give the big tree in the Sukamori forest its own theme. Like it has its own musical identifier that like we're looking at the forest now. Like that's a pretty, big tell that nature is kind of a huge part. I mean, Totoro
Mhm.
is the guardian spirit of the forest, right? Uh I
No,
think
totally. I
yeah.
mean, like, I think you're entirely right about the main themes in the movie. I mean, repeatedly they go to the shrine to worship the forest, right? And that is always shown. Like you'll see it when they're searching for May, how they sort of run past that shrine. And it's just, like these little constant reminders that the forest is such a big aspect within their lives. But I think what really this movie does, and it ties into the theme of reverence and also this sort of nice, cozy, familial bond that the two sisters share, is that this movie sort of throws out the idea of passion in a lot of ways, which I really like. Because if you look at a lot of other movies, drama is created by passion, whether it be negative or positive. Typically within relationships, if there's some sort of negative passion, then that's going to be, cheating, hate, people don't like each other. There needs to be some sort of reconciliation. Or if it's a really positive passion, then, there's a lot of open displays of love and lots of outbursts of happiness. This movie really tries to keep the tone pretty mellow, and it keeps its idea of emotions in this pretty mellow, constant state where a lot of the time, it allows for reverence to show up because that sort of fits the whole straight line vibe of the movie rather than these big jumps up and down in terms of how emotional things are getting, right?
Oh,
Even when the
that's
mom is in the hospital, things are still pretty mellow. Everybody is fairly even keel, which is why it's such a big shock that when this mom gets sick, suddenly drama is put into this movie and things get serious. Like it is a major tonal shift in the movie when suddenly passion and this idea of like a primal, guttural, just extreme reaction to something is introduced. So at
no.
least that's my take on it.
Yeah, totally. I mean, I didn't even think about that, but that's a really good point about how like I mean, reverence kind of comes when it's a pretty neutral feeling emotion, like you were saying. And I don't know that it's so much that there's a lack of passion in there's a lack of like intensity in the movie because it's not intense, but I think there's still very much like real emotion.
Oh, certainly.
It's just it's a platonic movie. It's not there's no shoehorned in romance or anything. It's just like kind of the love that envelops, the family and the whole community. It's sort of like it's very Shinto, right? Like the
Yes.
universe is everything, right? Like kind of the reverence for nature and sort of this love that surrounds all of them. Just sort of that whole like East Asian philosophy branch of philosophy and religion is really, I mean, a big thing in Ghibli works. But speaking of that tree, man, that tree song, I mentioned the tree theme earlier. It bangs. They do a lot of cool motif work in this movie too. I feel like I'm obligated to say it's like my job here. The dust sprites have their own little theme, their own little like chirpy little song that plays when they're moving around, and then the tree has its theme, and like they're really good at mix and matching themes. So when the dust sprites are like leaving the house going back to the tree, guess what? You have the tree song with the little chirpy dust sprite sounds playing in the background, and it's just like, oh, look at that. Bang. Put the pieces together.
Well, James, I mean, you filled your contractual obligation for the night.
Yeah,
So,
I'm dipping out. You guys take it from here.
yeah, no, that's all we needed you for is just mention the word theme and you're fine. I'm still
Yep.
looking for leitmotif somewhere. So if you can drop that, just adds a little bit of credibility.
You know what? Leitmotif and motif. The only difference is that motif doesn't really necessarily have to be music, and leitmotif is.
Oh my
That's about
gosh.
it.
Sideways is about to slap you sideways.
I
Like
know.
with that horrible take, I can't believe it.
Whoa, whoa. All
Oh,
right, okay.
wow.
I'm getting a little bit of animosity here. I'm
Yeah,
sensing
no,
it. We
I'm
need to.
introducing passion into this podcast
Yeah, I
specifically
was gonna say, show a little reverence for nature next time.
for
How about
you.
that
Nature next time
for me?
for James.
Well, so that or I yelled very loudly there. So that was one of my favorite bits about this film is that all of the parts with Totoro are like entirely just metaphors for nature. Like when they're riding on the wind, and they always say the metaphor, which is really annoying to me, but it's like when they're riding on the wind with Totoro on the spinning top or whatever. Uh, when they're going inside of the cat bus, nobody can see them, but it's rustling the clothes of people and it's moving the grain along. When they're lifting up the tree in the middle of the night, it's sprouting overnight. Like all of these little things are such creative ways to just show basic processes that we experience every single day. And really, I think that's a testament to the creativity of both Studio Ghibli and Hayao Miyazaki. He can make such minor things into such major moments, which is why I think that My Neighbor Totoro beats out something like Spirited Away, not to make it a competition, but it's just you're taking so much from so little. I can't help but stand in awe.
No, yeah, and I think it's a really creative way to show kind of Totoro's job as the spirit of the forest. He has to do all these seemingly mundane tasks like making the wind rustle through the grass and making trees sprout. But sort of through the eyes of a child, that sort of thing is amazing and magical. Like, I mean, you see how excited they
Yeah.
get over plants sprouting, and it is exciting to kids. Like you're sort of learning about the world around you, and through the eyes of these kids, it probably does feel like magic, like Totoro's magic. And there's an interesting question to be posed there about how much of this is literal, how much of it's symbolic. But honestly, I part of me feels like that's maybe the wrong question, and you shouldn't think about Totoro too much. It's sort of like a simple pleasure kind of thing. Because I know there was a theory going around, putting on my theory cap, that Satsuki and Mei die, and
Oh
that
God.
bus is like carrying them away. Yeah, and Hayao Miyazaki literally like debunked that. He was literally like, "No, that's not
Yeah.
it."
No, that's really dumb. Why would that be?
It's
How do
like
you get that?
those things. I feel like there's always someone who takes any beloved children's piece of media and tries to spin it up so that they're all dead somehow. Like
The
like
Phineas and Ferb one.
oh my gosh, the Phineas and Ferb theory. Yeah, every
What?
single and here's like you're telling. Okay, I'm getting a little passionate here. Tell me any like children's TV show or movie. I guarantee you, there's a theory that tries to explain it all with either A, schizophrenia, or B, death, and that's it.
Literally.
Well, do you know where this
Yes.
started from? It's literally just Alice in Wonderland. You could blame your man Lewis Carroll for all this
Oh my
because
gosh,
that's
you're right.
literally what he did.
You're
Like,
so right. And it's Winnie the Pooh too. Like that was a
Oh
huge one with
man.
the like each one of them is a representation of like a mental illness. And it's like, why
Yeah,
do you have to
I
make every
remember
it
that.
ain't that serious, please. Like it's children's media. You don't have to
Yeah.
have it be about like schizophrenic hallucinations for it to be deep. Like just enjoy simple things. There's
oh,
virtue in that.
exactly. Well, it's just when you're making children's media, it's very, I mean, it's relatively easy to make it because you just say, well, what do children like? And if it's a giant, pouncing tiger who has a lisp, great. There needs to be no extra thought put into that. There is absolutely zero metaphor or theme. It will go right over the children's heads. Like you have to think about audience. These guys are not coming up with like all these incredible connections between characters when their shows and movies are meant for kids. Like they don't have the time for that. And if you throw out the example of Pixar, that's because Pixar's audience is not just kids; it's kids and their parents, right?
Sorry, I was just gonna say that's kind of similar with Ghibli too. Like it has a much wider audience than just little kids. But I still hold true to that. We don't need to explain away Totoro with death and schizophrenia. So I just wanted to bring that up because I thought it was
Oh,
interesting, but I'd firmly like to not talk about it.
and that brings me to a question. Because for me, I feel like Totoro is very childhood centric. And I think the ages of the two girls play in heavily into that. Do you think that this movie would have worked well if the ages were different? Like if they were older?
No,
No, not at all. I think it's totally reliant on them being like young. How old are they? May's got to be like what?
May's 4, and I don't know how old Satsuki is,
I
but
can't
she's
see
in
her any.
school.
Yeah, she can't be any older than like 11. I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's no way.
No way. And I mean, because that's a pretty big gap between May and Satsuki if she is like 11.
Yeah, 7 years, really?
Maybe
That's
she's like 9 or 10.
I
9,
she's in some sort of elementary school at the bare minimum.
which is what's the ages for that?
I don't know.
Looking it up.
I didn't go there.
It's not middle school. She's no older than 11 and
Oh, yeah,
at least 5 because that's how that works.
yeah, I mean, I think that the age plays a really important factor because as humans, there is a very short span in our lives where we're just insanely creative and imaginative. Like that's why you have all these artists. I think the quote actually comes from Jim Carrey or something, where they're like, "What you want to do as an artist is try to go back to when you were a child, and like literally, that's your entire creative pursuit. Your entire life is to regain that spirit." Because you only have a certain finite amount of it before it all goes away as you're an adult and you just become boring and sad or whatever. So I think that to put these kids in sort of the prime time of their like anything is possible, they will believe any word that is said to them is perfect, and it's a great decision. And I definitely don't think that a middle schooler who definitely would have a higher level of skepticism could really work in this film as a nice older sister type figure to May.
Yeah, and it's also because middle schoolers are kind of jerks.
Oh yeah,
Yeah. There'd be
100%.
a whole bunch of there'd be a whole bunch of angst. And I definitely
Yeah.
feel like when going back to talking about the kind of supernatural explanations for like plant sprouting and the wind and all that stuff. I feel like when you put someone who's older, as Charlie was saying, like the skepticism, like I wouldn't believe that someone who's like 13 is like, oh yeah, the cat bus is the wind, or the
Yeah,
giant bear thing on a top is the wind.
all of the little scene like they all play exactly how like children's folk tales play. Like, oh, when
Yes.
it's raining, that's angels crying. It's like, oh, when the wind rushes through the grass, the cat bus is running by. It's like exactly like that sort of thing. And I love it. I think it's great. The cat bus, now thinking about the whole like reverence for nature thing, cat bus kind of took me for a loop, not gonna lie, because a bus is a very industrial, non like environmental thing. So why would the forest guardian employ a bus as wait, here's my take, right? Here's how I'm going to tie this together. The cat bus is acts in the film as sort of the bridge between Totoro and the human world. Humans can go in the cat bus, Totoro can go in the cat bus. He's sort of like Totoro's little messenger guy. You dig? It's like the union between humans and forest spirit. Just
No,
the
I yeah.
same, just the same as the cat bus as an object is the connection between the industrial and the organic, being that it's a bus and a cat. So cat bus is like the medium, the reconciliation between forest spirit and person and forest and man-made, right? That's my
Hmm.
dang. Because
Wow,
I was
That's
super
deep.
confused.
That went off. Just a little fun fact that I think everyone here's watched Avatar: The Last Airbender, but
Yeah.
Appa was based off of the cat bus,
Oh, that's so
like the
cool.
design
really?
of it, which makes sense.
Yeah, that's dope. Yeah, it does make sense. A big, flying like furry creature that carts around. Yeah, I totally dig it.
Oh, I love that so much. And James, your theory actually has backing in the movie because the dad at one point says, "We used to have a great relationship with nature." So I think at one point that cat bus might have not been a cat bus. It might have just been like a regular cat or a horse or some
Oh yeah,
natural
but it
thing,
had
maybe a
to.
big leaf. It had to adapt to the world that the humans were sort of putting on it rather than the other way around. So I think your
Yeah.
theory is entirely correct. I would totally go for that.
Oh,
Uh,
thank you.
Now I have something that is incredibly heartfelt and super duper nice. I
All
was
right.
reading about Hayao Miyazaki, who's the director of this film and the big studio Ghibli guy, right?
Yeah.
So he's coming out with a new film that he is making at some point, either 2021 or 2022, and it's called How Do You Live? And I was reading through the Wikipedia article, and this really touched me. Uh, Toshio Suzuki, who I believe is the head of the studio or something, said that Miyazaki is working on the film for his grandson as a way of saying, "Grandpa is moving on to the next world soon, but he is leaving
Oh
this film
man.
behind because he loves you." And I
Oh my
think
god.
nothing encapsulates the spirit of Hayao Miyazaki better than that. I mean, this is a guy who has mastered the art of the love letter. All of his
Yeah.
films have some sort of just super heartfelt, sincere message towards whatever their subject matter is. And all of them come from such a deeply emotional place. So to have his possibly final work be something that is like a love letter to his own grandson about life in general, I mean, that is something that I think we even see in Totoro. I mean, this is like a love letter to childhood, and maybe even in his work, he's sort of growing up and maturing his characters. Like you would see in Spirited Away, his characters are older than they were in My Neighbor Totoro. And maybe you can
Dude,
even
yeah.
view his entire body of work as sort of a progression through his own life and the love letters to the past moments that he's had. And then now he's coming to, sort of the end of his life, and he's like, it's time to summarize it all, recap it, and give all of that information to the next generation.
Dang.
So
Wow.
personally, I will be very excited to watch How Do You Live when it comes out. They said that they've been working on it for 3 years. It's all hand drawn, and they can only do about a minute of animation every month or something crazy like that.
Jeez.
Oh
So they
man.
have 33 minutes completed, but they're hoping that in 3 more years they'll be able to get it all done.
Now, if this is Miyazaki's like final work, that's kind of big because he's been wanting to retire for a while now.
Yeah.
Like he's just been
Yeah,
looking
he's
for yeah.
79.
There was a period of time where it was like Miyazaki's done, but then he came back. Maybe he's just one of those like workaholic people, but he's been wanting to retire for a really long time now. So I think he deserves his rest. I think
Well, that's the thing is I think that he's not a man who considers the idea of retirement like a career thing. He's the type of storyteller to me that will tell a story he is passionate about, and it does not matter what state he's in. Because if you look at Studio Ghibli's slates for the films that they're making, he's not the director of a whole bunch of them. He's not made a film since like 2013 or something crazy like that.
yeah.
Like, he is telling passion projects all the time. So I don't think there's ever truly going to be a moment where he retires because that's not a thing for him. He's a born natural storyteller. Like this man is going to be saying the way he feels about things through the medium of cinema and animation until like the day he's in the grave. Like he will never let that go. So I think that even though this might be his last film, if he's only, 79, that might mean that he still has a lot more time to live. I would still expect some shorts or some animation stuff coming from him at some point.
My guy, you said only 79?
Well, like,
That's
uh,
kind of
well, he's old, but he would still have, a fairly good time. I mean, the life expectancy in Japan is fairly high, no?
I don't know. I just feel like anything older than 75, it's like, whew, you know,
Plus, if all of his stuff is hand drawn, that's so exhausting.
I mean, I don't think he's doing the drawing, but like,
Yeah,
Right,
they
but
have a
still
team of
just
like 50
watching over
animators.
it and
yeah, I mean, managing anything's got to be stressful as all heck.
Yep.
yeah.
He really had like a quite the journey though. I've been watching a lot of stuff about Miyazaki, and he like just started as an animator on something, and he kind of worked his way up, and then he made like Lupin the Third was his kind of big thing that had his name on it. I think they're making a 3D remake of Lupin the Third on Netflix, which I'm excited
Oh,
for.
I've never heard of
Yeah,
that.
it's like a spy kind of like almost Indiana Jonesy, Archie, not Archie, Tintin kind of that
Yes.
that that vibe. Um, it looks really cool. It looks really slick, and if that's how Ghibli 3D is gonna work, then I think it looks very promising. But yeah, oh Miyazaki, we love you, man. But if you need to rest, you take your rest, man. But
We Socratic Cinema have convinced
you
Hayao
know what?
Miyazaki to
We'll take it from here.
we'll
Uh,
take it from
We're gonna
here.
have to step in, Mr. Miyazaki.
give
Don't
us
worry.
the keys to the kingdom. This is
Bill,
Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, and I am finally the Charlie I've deserved to be this entire time.
yeah, I'll be the grandpa who like freeloads in bed, then decides he can walk when he gets a golden ticket. Isn't Helena Bonham Carter in that movie too?
Yes, she
Thinking of
is.
our Tim Burton days, oh so long ago. like a
Uh,
whole.
yes.
you guys sounded sad with the mention of Monocutter. What has she
It-
done to
no,
you?
it really does feel like a long time ago. Like I forget how long a bi-weekly release schedule is, which leads me to saying that we're gonna test out weekly for a while because we just can't bear to go that long without delivering you guys some content and hearing from you guys in the comments and stuff. So we're gonna test out weekly releases for a bit and see how that goes. So hopefully you're hearing this 1 week after the Mandalorian episode came out. I just wanted to make that known. I'll probably do we'll probably do an announcement about it, like posts and stuff. But yeah, we're gonna more Socratic stuff coming soon for the next, for as long as we can until we get tired and go back to bi-weekly.
Exactly.
Unless it's a sustainable business model, maybe we can just do this indefinitely.
For all time, you're stuck with me.
Socratic is
Ex-
never gonna stop. But yeah, I don't know. Do you guys have some more Totoros,
Stop.
Totoro?
uh, you
Oh,
lost it,
I have a
James. I'm gonna
question.
be completely honest.
Oh, all
Sorry.
right. I'll just put the first one in. um, I have a question. Is his name Totoro or is his species Totoro? Because I
Name.
feel
100%.
no, because Mei and Satsuki are always like, we found a Totoro. There's a little Totoro over there, and there's a smaller Totoro too, right? They say a Totoro. They refer to him as a Totoro, and it's like, is it genus? Is this his like family, like his scientific name is species Totoro? I always like imagined it being his personal individual name, but since I paid attention, like they make it sound, and I don't even think it is his name because didn't they just pull it from May's book? They were like, she was like, "Oh, I found a Totoro," and Satsuki's like, "Oh, you mean one of those goblins from your book?" I guess that's just.
Maybe.
It's like, oh, I guess I feel like my life's a lie. I,
But-
I mean,
well, I
what is
mean,
he?
like, it has
Oh,
to be his name, right? It can't be his
because
I
species.
mean, if it's the name of the spirit, like I guess so, but it's not like he can speak to them. Like he can't give them his name.
in the first scene where she was like lying on his stomach, wasn't he like he yawned like Totoro out, right? He was like womp womp womp, and then May was like, "Oh, Totoro." I I think that's what happened in that scene. I don't know. I'm trying to rationalize Totoro's name here, guys. Help me
I
out.
don't know. Maybe we're not young and imaginative
I
enough.
know the spirit of imagination hasn't given us Totoro yet.
Oh, it's
Uh,
been gone for a while for all of us, guys. I don't know if
we're
you know.
we're out of our
Right.
prime. Dang. All we can do, we're not creative anymore. All we can do is dig into other people being creative and like leech off that.
It's a great business model.
That's what movie content is, honestly. But yeah, I thought it was interesting the structure of the movie, kind of going hand in hand with it not really having a strong plot. It felt sort of like an anthology to me, like a bunch of little short segments. Like first we have the move, and they're all 15 to 20 minutes. So we have like the moving in segment, and then it's like fade to black. We're done with the moving in segment. Then we have the May meets Totoro segment. Okay, fade to black. Then we're done with that one. Then we have the it's raining. Let's wait by the bus stop and then grow some trees. And there's that one. And then the last one's like, oh, May's lost. It just feels like sort of this series of little misadventures rather than one overarching thing. And I really like it. I think it's very sweet and just a good way of doing things. It's like a charcuterie tray of Totoro experiences rather than one continuous meal. And I think it's a very
Ah,
smart way of
yes.
doing it, right? You like my
I
analogy?
do. I do. That was very good.
As someone that does enjoy a good meat and cheese plate, I did really like that.
Some charcuterie, baby.
Yeah,
I learned that word from Charlie, actually.
you didn't know the word charcuterie before me?
Is it cuterie or cooterie?
Charcuterie.
Sure. Well, I'm Californian, so I say things wrong. It's charcuterie.
But
That
speaking of California,
yeah.
get ready for this.
hmm
That's the state we're in right now.
Yes.
And the
Correct.
state of this episode is that we're running out of time.
Is that so?
And that is so.
Wow.
That was
You
good.
You've really impressed me with the quality or lack thereof of your puns today. They're
And
quite
your segues.
the
They're-
segues. I will admit are pretty good.
They are. I really try. That's my biggest like pride and joy in this podcast is how can I go from one of our ridiculous tangents to wrapping this thing up?
Do it every single episode. I forgot that this is your other job besides saying the word theme and leitmotif.
Yeah, it's like by the end of every episode, I have a little checklist. Did I make a joke about cancel culture, bring up music somehow, and find a way to wrap up the episode? And if I did 2 of those 3 things, I did my job. But yeah, we're done, I think. Thank you again so much for listening. This has been a wonderful little discussion of My Neighbor Totoro. If you haven't seen this movie, go watch it. It's really good. And let us know if you want to see more Ghibli movies. Should we get more of our Ghiblinity stones?
Stop.
Ghiblinity stones. It hurts.
Please.
Next time, I'd advocate that we do. I really want to watch Princess Mononoke or Kiki's Delivery Service because I haven't seen either of them. Up on Poppy Hill is really good too. But anyways, we'll do something. Christmas is coming up. Let us know if there's any Christmas movies we should do. The world is our oyster now that we're doing weekly. We don't have to ration our movies so harshly anymore. But yeah, thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed the podcast, go ahead and subscribe to us because only 3% of you guys are actually subscribed, which is kind of embarrassing for everyone involved, really. So do yourself a favor, do us a favor, and click the subscribe button and click the thumbs up button and give us a comment if you're listening on YouTube because that's where most people listen. If you're on Spotify, you keep doing your thing. Just follow us and listen to the episodes. If you're on Apple Podcasts, leave us a rating, write us a review, tell us what we can do better, what we are already doing well, and give us a 5 stars if you enjoy the show, because those are really helpful for us to kind of get a feel for where we're at. And spread the word about the show. Word of mouth is the best form of growth, and we'd love to grow if you will have us. And yeah, because we really enjoy doing the show, so we just want to spread it with as many people as we can. So thank you all so much again for listening, and tell your friends about the Socratic Cinema podcast, the hottest by the youth for the youth cinema discussion / analysis podcast on the market right now. So you're gonna want to be here before we blow up, so you can have a stake in it. Yeah, cool. Thanks again, everyone. Bye bye.
We've been Socratic Cinema.
Adios.
Bye bye.
You keep forgetting it every episode.
He refuses to do it now.
Cultural appropriation, Kasey. I don't feel comfortable with it.